so this is the month that Ultimate X came about. We had the first Ultimate X match. The build to it began on NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 57, August 6th, 2003, in which, once again, we had another Chris Sabin against Frankie Kazarian X Division title match.
The first one was fine. I don't think these two have great chemistry together.
And, like, good God, do the crowd just not give a shit about these two when they wrestle each other.
Which is funny, because I think they care about them when they're not wrestling each other.
Like, yeah, they care about Kaz when he wrestles Michael Shane, and they care about Sabin when he wrestles Michael Shane. Yeah, so it's very weird that, like, just when these two go in the ring with each other, it suddenly becomes like a black hole of charisma and the crowd fall asleep.
It's weird.
And it's like, it's not for lack of trying, because they try really, really hard.
Yeah.
Like, they come flying out of the gate in this match. They're really trying.
Clearly the thing here is that Michael Shane is just the glue that holds it all together.
He's the big star. He's Shawn Michaels' cousin.
I kind of love Michael Shane.
Yeah, we'll talk about him in a sec, because this match, Sabin wins with a belt shot, then Andrew Thomas restarts the match. Mike Posey's the referee, Andrew Thomas comes out, restarts the match. Mike Posey's like, no, Sabin won. Then Kazarian hits the Wave of the Future to win the belt, but then Mike Posey's like, no, and then Andrew Thomas is like, no, so Rudy Charles runs out, takes the belt away, and says, Eric Watts is going to solve this problem.
Eric Watts is the champion. Yeah, this is classic TNA overbooking a simple situation. It's something that we don't talk about anymore because, we're kind of used to it, but it is still kind of insane that these finishes we're getting on pay-per-view.
The idea here is because Shane on this show beats Shark Boy Joey Matthews and Danny Doring. I hear he said Joe Doring. Danny Doring.
Oh, what a match that would be. Michael Shane, Joe Doring.
Yeah, but he beats Shark Boy, Joey Matthews, and Danny Doring in a four-way match to become number one contender, kind of. I don't think they expressly state that. But they then still need to give Kazarian a claim to number one contendership so that next week they can do the ladder match between Shane and Kazarian to determine the actual number one contender. So they've created this little web for themselves where they have to do a shitty finish. And there is the usual thing. It's like, they booked this shit. They didn't have to back themselves into that corner where they had to do a cheap finish here and then a cheap finish the following week. But they did.
Yeah, 100%.
Before that match, the Shane, Shark Boy, Joey Matthews, and Joe Doring, Danny Doring, god damn it.
Joe Doring.
Before that match, I wrote Doring in the notes. That's my mistake. I didn't expressly state Danny Doring, so Joe comes to mind. No, don't you write Joe Doring in the notes. That'll make it worse for me. But before that match, there was little pre-match interviews with all four guys, in which the first words out of Michael Shane's mouth on TNA were, yeah, I'm Shawn Michaels' cousin.
See... Okay, at this point, they're still doing, the original, hey, it's just kind of being used to play him over. But by the end of the month, it's gone full parody of itself, and I love it.
Yeah, you see, the point of this one is kind of I may be Shawn Michaels' cousin, but I'm my own man, blah, blah, blah.
He's trying to downplay it.
And by the end of the month, he has fully embraced the fact that he's Shawn Michaels' cousin.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about the promo on the last show.
Yeah, there was also a tremendous Shark Boy Norman Smiley promo where Norman was trying to get him to focus on the match, and all Shark Boy wanted to do was the big wiggle.
Can't blame him.
So yeah, Shane won that four-way. Then we had the horrible finish in the Sabin and Kaz match to set up the following week, NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 58, a ladder match between Frankie Kazarian and Michael Shane to determine number one contender.
Which was pretty good, and it's no fault of their own. I just can't stand ladder matches anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of ladder matches. I thought they absolutely worked their ass off. They took some just hideous bombs, sunset flip power bombs off that ladder. Frankie could hit the Jeff Hardy leg drop over the ladder, which must be just hideous for your spine.
I'm sure most of what they're doing is hideous for their spine. Thank God they got those medical deals.
Yeah, well done. You'll be fine. You have the medical deal.
That's why they were taking the bumps. They're like, well.
Mike Tenay mentioned the Ring of Honor match between Michael Shane and Paul London.
Yes, that match was wacky and dangerous. They used a real flimsy ladder. I believe big Ring of Honor lore here that was the beginnings of the Paul London Please Don't Die chants.
Well, he probably earned them.
He did. That ladder was scary.
Yeah, Mike Tenay was pointing out their ladder match history and pointed out that while Michael Shane has never been in a ladder match, that was a no DQ match that turned into a ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they have the match. By the way, Eric Watts just gave the belt back to Chris Sabin after the contentious finish of the previous week's match. That was Eric Watts' big decision, that he will give the belt back to Sabin and do this ladder match to determine the number one contender.
He's like, I got a big thing with Loki and AJ. Shut up. Let me just... Just give it back.
And the funny part was, like, we never even saw Watts deliberate or make that decision. It's like, we have a backstage interview with Scott Hudson and Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin's like, yeah, Watts gave me the belt back. It was the only decision he could make.
Which is like, yeah, fair enough.
Watts is just very busy doing other things, which is the reason, obviously, because this match ends in a no contest. When Chris Sabin runs out, he takes out both guys off the ladder, then grabs the contract himself, so I'm pretty sure he has to wrestle himself for the X Division Championship now.
I wonder who would win.
Oh, Chris Sabin.
I think I have to go with Chris Sabin.
Oh, yeah, you know, that's a good point.
He's scrappy.
Don't you get us back down that rabbit hole. But because Eric Watts did such a hideous job solving this problem, Don Callis comes out and confiscates the X Division title, and he will come up with a solution.
The actual person running this show.
Yeah, we'll talk about the differences between Callis and Watts when we get to other stories of the month, but they try to explain that, and I think they make it worse. So later in the show, Don Callis, he has a little whiteboard, and he has drawn himself a structure. He's called it the Ultimate X Match, where they will hang 4 poles from either side of the ring, have cables crisscrossing the ring, where the belt will be hung in the middle. It will be a ladder match without the ladders. You climb the cables to grab the belt. You've seen an Ultimate X match at this stage. You don't need me to describe the Ultimate X concept. You can look at our cool poster. The poster for this month is an Ultimate X poster. It looks real rad.
Ultimate X is a cool match type. It's one of those matches that you immediately associate with TNA. It's one of those things that really made TNA stand out, especially when I was first getting into it, because especially at the age that I was starting to watch TNA, like, the thing that I was into was the X Division. Like, this is the reason I was watching it, and Ultimate X was one of those, like, mind-boggling things that you'd see. And, like Elevation X too, you're like, this is just so absurdly dangerous looking. Why is this a thing? But you gotta admit, like, these unique and new match types are so sorely missed nowadays. Why can't we get more weird structures in wrestling? I want wrestling to be basically... Have you ever seen... I don't want to say professional because I don't know if it's professional, but like official league tag?
No.
Where they do tag on like these parkour-like structures and they're like flipping all around them and doing crazy shit trying to win these games of tag. It's like gymnastics meets tag. And I am desperate for someone to be like, we need to put this in and around a wrestling ring.
Where you just put all the X Division guys with a bunch of things they can do cool shit off?
Yeah, like, they have these, like, there's, like, monkey bars, and there's, like, these metal stairs, and there's all these things that you can run across and jump across, and I just, like, Ultimate Ninja Warrior meets tag, but I think, like, imagine if you did a wrestling match with that. It would be nutto. Especially today, like, Chuck Nick Jackson in that, and Phoenix, some crazy shit's gonna happen.
It feels like an idea you could pitch in the NXT 2.0 writing room and actually get done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Don Callis announces the Ultimate Drama, Ultimate Danger, Ultimate X. As mentioned, he has a little drawing of it, which it's like, oh, that's cute. He drew his Ultimate X.
I wonder if JB drew that.
I do wonder who did draw the Ultimate X drawing. I hope it was Don. He just sat down and was like, listen, I really do have this idea. It's really cool.
Do we actually know who is, like, officially credited with the Ultimate X idea?
There is a note this month that the co-brain trust of Jarrett Gilberti, D'Amore, and Russo take credit for it as like a collective.
Well, congratulations, D'Amore.
There's actually a fun note about the construction of the Ultimate X, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the fact that the belt fell, but that's a different issue altogether. But yeah, Don Callis' solution is that Chris Sabin will remain X Division champion, but he will defend the belt against Shane and Kazarian in this new fancy invention, the Ultimate X match.
Very exciting.
Which brings us to NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 59, August 20th, 2003, the debut of Ultimate X. They had fancy Ultimate X graphics beforehand. Fancy is probably a very generous term here.
They had graphics.
They did have very 2003 graphics about the Ultimate X.
Yeah, JB opened up his, not Premiere Pro, what's the one where you make graphics? Some Adobe program from 2000 and was like, I'm going to make some cool graphics for this show.
It's like After Effects or Photoshop.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for.
So yeah, making his Ultimate X graphics, and they do look, to be fair, Don Callis' drawing is probably better than the graphics, but here we are.
They should have just plastered the Don Callis graphics.
They should have animated it. That would have been fine.
It comes off of the whiteboard and turns into a real logo.
So, Michael Shane defeated Chris Sabin and Frankie Kazarian to become X Division champion and win the first ever Ultimate X match in a match that was a disaster due to no fault of the wrestlers.
Yeah, this was insane.
So the biggest problem with this match, it's not the Ultimate X that you know. The Ultimate X that you know is the two cables crisscrossing, and they're connected in the middle, and they're red covered cables. Whereas here in this match, it was two cables that were not connected in the middle. So you had a cable crossing from one corner to the other, and a cable crossing from the other corner to the other. And while they did meet in the middle, they weren't held in the middle like the Ultimate X is. I think every single Ultimate X after this is. So when they hung the belt up there, and every time somebody tried to climb the cable, the two cables would stretch and would end up releasing the title belt and causing it to fall to the mat, not once in this match, but twice.
Let's talk about the referee here.
Oh, poor Andrew Thomas. Poor Andrew Thomas picking up the belt and being like, oh God, what do I do?
Yeah, like a solid 30 seconds of silent reflection about what to do in this circumstance.
Because he moves into like the back corner of the ring, he's in like the top left corner of the ring, and he's just hovering. I assume he has somebody in his earpiece while everybody's like collectively panicking. But there's like, he wants to disappear in this moment. He's just like, oh no, what do I do?
Like a disappointed father leaning over his kitchen bench.
So eventually one of the security guards comes out and like goes to like traverse the cables to put it back up.
And then nopes the fuck out of that.
He's like, nope, nope, nope. And they bring a ladder out to hang it back up. And they wrestle again some more. And it falls again. And they bring the ladder back out and hang it back up. And they wrestle some more. And then they finally finish the match. Michael Shane becomes X Division champion. I find like the critical response to this match at the time was that it was like mind-blowing and amazing. Which I kind of get, because like we've seen like 60 Ultimate X matches since then. We know like the lengths to which people can go in this match type. But I guess like, taking out the two stupid belt falling things, I guess it was like the work in this match was pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It's unique. And it probably just blew people away a lot on concept alone.
And because like they didn't go absolutely nuts, you had a power bomb off the cables, which looked rad. You had Kazarian hitting Sabin with a spear off the cables, which also looked really good. So you had a couple of like those really cool off the cables moves that kind of sell you on the concept. And again, while the belt did fall twice, which is very unfortunate. And Michael Shane, like, huge gusher, giant blade job for this one. Like, I think the work of the wrestlers did sell the concept enough that people were like, oh yeah, this is really cool and new and different.
Yeah, I really want to give Michael Shane some credit because I loved the finish of this match.
Yeah.
Where he just hauled ass all the way down across it.
Because yeah, Sabin and Kazarian are climbing from separate sides, and then Kazarian knocks off Sabin, but then Shane just comes out of nowhere like a million miles an hour, grabs the belt, pulls it down. He's X Division champion. He has made history as the first ever winner of Ultimate X.
And as he hits the ground, like immediately there's a pool of blood where he lands.
Because yeah, giant blade job for this dude.
And he sold it really well too, because like he looked like he was exhausted after he hit it. But yeah, really good stuff.
So Ultimate X, one of the, still to this day, like the signature match of both the X Division and Impact. We just had the first Knockouts Ultimate X there earlier this month at Hard to Kill. It's still a match that people look forward to. It's still a match that when it's announced, it's like, oh hell yeah. And it's still a match that's pretty well protected, because before the Ultimate X last year at Slammiversary, we'd actually went the longest period ever without an Ultimate X. So it was like over 2 years between Ultimate X matches. So it's not a match that they just throw out willy-nilly, even if we've had we've had two in the last 6 months now.
There's only a couple year period where the Ultimate X lost its luster a little bit for me. But now it's back, and it's like, if I see there's an Ultimate X, I want to check out an Ultimate X match.
Yeah. So there's a fun note from Frankie Kazarian. This was in a feature originally published on ImpactWrestling.com. It's not available on the website anymore, because I think it got nuked in like a redesign of the website. But it was a bunch of people. It was him, DJZ, Sanjay Dutt, Petey Williams, and some others reflecting. Christopher Daniels was another one, reflecting on their experiences in Ultimate X. There was a very fun note from Frankie Kazarian about the very first one. So, quote from Kazarian: "It was explained to me a couple of weeks beforehand by people in creative at TNA at the time. They'd created this new concept for a match. They said it was basically going to be poles surrounding the four sides of the ring and chains going across with the title in the middle. And they described it as a ladder match with no ladder. And being a fan of ladder matches and cool concepts in wrestling, I thought it was great. We were all flown in the night before to try out this structure and see what it was all about. By the time we got to the building, it hadn't even been constructed." The idea was basically steel poles inside the ring posts and stringing cables across from that. So like 4 poles either side of the ring. Like the Don Callis does actually describe it as that the week before as well. He's like, it'll be 4 poles. So it was basically Ultimate X is an elaborate title on a pole match. Back to Kazarian, they tried to do that, and when I went up there as a test, and this is the night before the actual pay-per-view, and the minute I got on the cable and started navigating my way across, all the poles just bent and collapsed into the ring. And I was standing in the middle of the ring. So the ring crew workers are kind of shaking their heads, and they were working on stuff all night, and it started to get heated. People are giving advice, and there were carpenters there who said they knew what they were doing, but obviously didn't. So long story short, we really had no idea how it was going to come together, and if it even was going to be a thing. So like literally the night before, the structure doesn't work.
It's very interesting that the original idea was the poles, but yeah, the weight distribution there just wouldn't work.
And the fact that it like collapsed in on itself with 1 person, never mind 3.
Yeah. I'm surprised they never like revisited the pole idea though.
I guess like they came up with the idea of doing steel lighting trusses instead, which was more sturdy, and it worked. So back to Kazarian. We got to the building the next day and they decided to build the apparatus out of lighting trusses, having trusses outside the ring and splitting the cables across that. By the time they got it erected and everything, it was basically showtime, so we had no way to get up there and see if it was going to work or see how high it was. So we went into that first Ultimate X completely blind, just with some ideas of what we thought could be done. So I'm very proud of that match and proud of the guys who were in it with me. To be part of the first of anything in pro wrestling is very special, and to be involved in the history of that match, which has become so special, is very cool, and I wear it as a badge of honor. I think I might have been the first person who ever jumped up there and tried to get the belt. I remember jumping up there, and the only training I had was the monkey bars at school, so it was like, well, let's see how it works. And as I started going across, I saw the structure was in fact secure and not going to collapse on me.
Imagine if it did. Just everything collapsed.
Live on pay-per-view, Frankie Kazarian jumps up and the entire Ultimate X structure that just caves in, and everyone's like, well, shit.
Yeah, they tried.
Which I guess that makes sense why they didn't really have time to like test whether or not the belt would fall, because they barely had time to build the damn thing, never mind actually see would the belt hold in the middle.
I found it interesting that at least they did try to have the foresight to bring them out the night before.
Oh, yeah, because imagine if they didn't, it's like live on pay-per-view again, the 4 poles just like,
Yeah.
So that is the first Ultimate X match. We will be talking about many, many more in the future of this podcast.